Well, guys, we are back to another episode of the Liberal Asshole Show, as we are ready to go for this one. So on today's video, we are going to talk about this one I want to talk about for a while, our voting record, which is what we voted on. That will be very interesting. And then, of course, it's been a few days since Biden's been president, so it wasn't on the list I mentioned before, but let's talk about that as well. And, of course, we're going to talk about Trump getting banned on social media and how to deal with big tech and their unnecessary influence. And of course, how to deal with Biden, and remind right-wingers and liberals too how to deal with him. Because, oh God, on Vosh's channel the other day, I saw so many people in his comments literally defend like they were lying on purpose about Biden to say he's better just to make Trump look worse. And that's just so fucking sad. And of course, Bernie being budget chairman. And then we were going to talk about predictions of America's politics in the future, and possibly watch some videos too. So are you two ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
So what do you want to talk about first?
I guess we can start with our voting record.
Oh, well, that will be a long one. So, of course, this topic would be, like, what we voted for and what it was all about. And since you're the youngest here and didn't vote the longest, maybe you should start first.
Okay, wait, so I guess just list,
Like politicians and referendums and all that you voted for.
oh yeah, of course. Obviously, as Tim said, I'm the youngest here. Like, I'm a Zoomer. I was born in June 28th, 2000. So, I could only vote since 2018, which was only like almost 3 years ago. And I'm trying to remember. The first time I voted was in the 2018 midterms when the Democrats took back the House. So I also voted because I lived in New York. I also voted for some progressive Democrats who are running within the primaries in the Democratic Party, such as Zephyr Teachout.
Oh yeah, she was awesome.
Oh yeah, she was. I voted for her. I voted for her like for Attorney General, but unfortunately she lost. I also voted for Cynthia Nixon, who was running against Cuomo.
Yep, she was awesome too.
Oh yeah, she was the progressive challenger to like
Cuomo.
Corporate Andrew Cuomo, yeah. And I also voted for Jumaane Williams, who was like her lieutenant governor, so running mate. So that he was also pretty chill and progressive. So I voted for those three, and I also I guess I also voted for a referendum in New York City that would to remember, I think it was about property taxes, I think, or some shit, but I don't really remember. Yeah, so.
And what about in Cyprus?
In Cyprus, I haven't voted yet, but the next election for both parliament and president in Cyprus, it's going to be in 2023. So in about 2 years, I'll be able to vote here.
Well,
so,
there's no like off-term elections or anything like in America.
Like Cyprus also has midterm elections during a president's term. But the last one in Cyprus was, I think it was in 2016. So
Okay.
no, but those were like midterm parliament elections though, which was during the Cyprus president's term. So yeah.
Alright, so I guess that's it. Well, Vlog, what about you?
Okay, so for me, mine was... So I've been around a few years, so I've had a couple of elections. I don't remember exactly who the people are that I voted for, but I know that in the House of Representatives, equivalent to that of the lower house of Congress in the US, of course it doesn't apply to Harry because he's unicameral.
Yeah.
So actually has the House, but not the Senate.
Yeah.
So in there, I always voted for the Greens to try and get them a seat or two. And then I'd go Labour with Liberal at the back, except for the first one, where I had Greens first, where there were so many horrible parties that I had the Liberal Party in third out of 6. And but that was also because we had a religious party, we had a billionaire grifter piece of shit, basically wannabe Donald Trump, and the other one was basically a borderline fascist terrorist organization. So,
and I bet your conservatives down there will say they're just lovely people. What's so wrong with that?
No, our Liberal Party are a little more hostile to fascists than a little more hostile to fascists than they are in the US. They actually condemn them. Not our white nationalist crowd, though, of course. In the Senate, mostly I went for Greens and other small minor parties that agreed on issues that I wanted. So once I also voted for a motoring enthusiast guy. I don't know if he actually got in or not, but I know one of them did.
What about Prime Minister and referendums and all that?
I voted for same-sex marriage, obviously, in the plebiscite on that. But that's the only one we've had on that regard in my time.
What about Prime Minister, though?
Oh, we don't directly vote for the Prime Minister. But Labour was my second choice, so I voted for Shorten, even if I didn't like him much.
So I guess that's it for you?
Yeah.
Oh boy, well this is going to be a long one for me. First time I could have voted was the 2012 primary, but I didn't. First time I voted was the 2012 election. And the second vote I regret the most was voting for Obama, which of course, he won my state by like 20 points, and he won the presidency, no shit. Then for Congress, voted for I think it was Elijah Cummings when I was back in Baltimore County. He won. And then our Senate, of course, Ben Cardin, I voted for him. That's the one vote I regret ever since, but he won that. And then we had 3 referendums that in Maryland that year. First was the thing was to legalize gambling in the city. I voted for that, and I think it passed. Second one was to give in-state tuition for undocumented immigrants as a pathway to citizenship. That I voted for that, and that passed. And of course, the most satisfying vote ever was legalizing gay marriage, which I voted for, and it passed. So then the next time was the 2014 primary, where we had a freeway race to replace O'Malley as our governor. There was Anthony Brown, who was his lieutenant governor, who was like the Hillary of that race. Then there was this one, I don't know, I can't remember his name. He was so irrelevant, he had some giant scandal with him. And then there was Heather Missouri, who was Bernie at the time. She, in 2014, supported $15 minimum wage, legalizing pot and all that. I support her, and she lost in the freeway race last place, which was bullshit. And of course, in the 2014 primary, I begrudgingly voted for Anthony Brown. Oh my god, he was so fucking bad. He was so smug and so condescending that he thought he was going to win by such a blowout that he tried to get out of doing the only debate we had for governor. That's how desperate he was to get out of it, and he was so sure he was going to win. And unfortunately, he lost to Hogan. That's what you get for being a smug asshole. And I voted for the Democrat to challenge Andy Harris. He lost. Then in 2016 primary, voted for Bernie, of course, and he lost the state by almost 30 points. And then in the 2016 general, I voted for Jill Stein, which of course she lost and Trump won, but Hillary won my state. Says, you know, my state's such a deep blue state that doesn't matter what I vote for, all you fucking Brian for buying retards. I voted for the Democrat to challenge Andy Harris. He lost. And then Barbara Mikulski was our former one of our former senators. She was retiring, so we had to replace her with Chris Van Hollen, who was running against a religious fundamentalist extremist in my area, so I voted for him, and he won. And we'll see if he still has his chance to get my vote in 2022. And then in 2018, we had... Oh, yeah, there was another thing in 2016. We had a referendum. I voted against it because it was about appointments for, like, judges or something like that. And the way I interpret it, because my parents voted the exact opposite, they voted for it, was that it would give the governor more power. And I did not want to give Hogan any more power than he had right now. So I voted against, and I have no idea if it won or not. Then, of course, the 2018 primary, voted for Ben Jealous, and he won. And, of course, in the 2018 general, even though the state overwhelmingly agrees with Ben Jealous, they voted against him by like 20 points. I voted for another Democrat against Andy Harris. He lost. And, of course, 2020 primary, I voted for Bernie. He lost. And then 2020 general, I voted for Hallie Hopkins or Hawkins, I can't remember his last name. And, of course, I voted for the best Democrat we've had run against Andy Harris, and she sadly lost, too, by the biggest margin yet. And that's the situation for me.
All right.
Yeah.
So now you know about our voting records.
Boy. Hopefully Ben Jealous will run in 2022. So now, what's the next topic you all want to talk about?
Where was the... right. The Conservatives and Liberals who...
Maybe we should...
in regards to Biden.
How about we talk about Biden's first few days first, as like a prelude.
Yeah. Biden's first few days, because he did a stack of executive orders.
Yeah, post it so we can read it, so we know exactly off the top of our head.
All right. Let me get up and track it because of how hard it triggered Matthew.
I think you posted in our DMs. And Kyle did a video on it too, covering some of them.
Yeah.
There we go.
All right, so of course Biden's been president now for like 4 days effectively, and he's done a shit ton of executive orders. And Vlog just posted the list as I'm trying to get OBS out of the way to see it.
Just day one. He's probably done a bunch more. He's definitely done a bunch more.
Yeah, this was on the first day. So let's see. Maybe you want to read out Vlog?
Yep. So he launched a 100-day masking challenge and leading by example in the federal government.
That was just from federal stuff though, which
he also mandated masks in federal buildings.
Yeah.
Re-engage with the World Health Organization to make America and the world safer.
Yeah, Trump. I don't know if he successfully actually got us out, because that took like several months process. But hey, at least we're glad we're still being in there.
Yeah.
Well, he's the one who believes that the World Health Organization is the communist health organization.
No, he actually left it, so it's a good thing Biden
cover up that COVID-19 is a Chinese bioweapon.
Yep. Then the next one.
Next on the list would be structure our federal government to coordinate a unified national response. I have no idea what that means.
Probably COVID.
So I guess that would... Yeah, assuming that would be. Extend eviction and foreclosure moratoriums.
100%
and extend
support.
Student loan pauses.
Both 100% support.
Rejoin the Paris Agreement on climate change.
Now, the funny thing about that one, remember Trump got out of it. America was getting out of it back in May of 2017. America didn't effectively got out of that till this November, if all of you didn't know that, actually. So it's actually only been out for a few months. But, of course, it's good to be back in, but let's be honest, that's like a Band-Aid. It's not enough. We got to go much farther than that.
I know, Tim, I agree, but it's better than nothing, though. Come on, you gotta, you gotta give him that. Come on.
It's not like actual restrictions. It's like just like a gentleman's agreement between everyone. We need to go much farther and expand it. So now the next one.
What's that? Roll back President Trump's environmental actions in order to protect public health and the environment and restore science.
100% support.
Launch a whole of government initiative to advance racial equality or equity.
100% support.
Reverse President Trump's executive order excluding undocumented immigrants from the reapportionment court count.
No idea what that is about.
That's the census. The census.
Oh, okay.
Oh, the census, right.
All right, next one.
Preserve and fortify protections for dreamers.
Yep, and hopefully I'm sure that would include DACA too. 100% support.
No, it doesn't include DACA. It doesn't include DACA.
They're referring to DACA. Reverse the Muslim ban.
Support.
Oh, yeah, that's good, yeah.
Repeal of Trump's interior enforcement executive order.
I think that might have been about the wall too, which is coming up next. Unless you all know.
Stop border wall construction.
Yeah, you stopped it. Yeah.
It wouldn't have worked.
Although
work. You can not only were people able to go under it, but people were able to climb it, and chunks of it got blown over during a storm.
And there was actually a few days ago I saw on Twitter even though he said the wall's not being built anymore, well, at least parts of it, there were still contractors still like blowing up like land areas to like build it. So they haven't gotten the memo yet.
Or not.
Then the next one.
Deferred enforced departure for Liberians.
Like
The country, maybe.
I'm guessing it's Liberians.
Who knows?
That was
Who
Huh?
knows? Who knows what that one means? I guess next one.
Presidential memorandum preventing and combating discrimination on the basis of gender identity or sexual orientation.
100% support.
And finally, executive branch personnel ethics executive order.
Which, who knows exactly what that is?
And regulatory process executive order and presidential memorandum.
That might be involving like trying to override Trump's executive orders on regulation. Remember?
Yep, I think that would probably be it.
So, of all these listed, other than the ones that we're not sure about, since we don't know exactly what they mean, I'm pretty sure we all 100% support all these things.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there is a possibility, because Mike from the Humus Report tweeted this out before, it's possible maybe net neutrality could be back. With
oh, that would be awesome for you guys.
Yeah.
That would be definitely awesome. But there are also at least two things that are concerning, both involve foreign policy that Kyle covered. One, he still supports Guaido as Venezuela's president, remember, and wants to keep applying sanctions on them.
He supports a coup in Venezuela.
Yep, so that's not good. And then, of course, when it came to Iran, he said well, it wasn't him specifically, it was one of his cabinet members. He'll say, if Iran fully complies with the Iran deal again, they'll get rid of all the sanctions. No, that's not how it works. It's the other way around. We violate the deal. We need to do the shit first.
Let's knock enough of the sanctions out that Iran can actually get rid of their excess uranium. That might also be a bit too late because
of the orangutan.
Iran and Saudi Arabia have entered a nuclear arms race.
But yeah, we violated the deal. We need to do the shit first before they have to comply, you fucking idiots. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And we need to bring, and if we're going to do this with Iran, in order to stop the arms race, we need to have Saudi Arabia as part of it as well.
Yep, and you know who else too's been trying as well? Turkey.
Oh yes, the Neo-Ottoman Empire. Haven't they? They're part of NATO. Haven't they already got?
They have. They want to build their own nuclear weapons.
Oh shit!
Yeah, those are America's nuclear weapons in Turkey.
And then also remember that Jesus, no fucking wonder Iran's doing this. And Turkey's got nukes, mortal enemy. Israel has nukes, mortal enemy. Saudi Arabia is developing nukes, number one enemy.
The whole entire...
And the Pakistani nukes would probably be pointed at Iran if they weren't pointed at India.
Yep.
Along with India's being pointed at Pakistan.
And possibly China too, now remember.
Yeah, I don't think... Maybe a few. But I think most of India's will be pointed at Pakistan. India and Pakistan...
hate each other so much.
Oh, yes. I struggle to think of two countries that hate each other more.
So now, maybe we can talk about the how to deal with Biden now?
Yep.
All right. So, first off, I'm going to talk about the conservatives. Don't use shitty arguments against him. Like, I don't want to ever hear again, like, even though you've all been saying this, and I know you're going to continue saying it's like, Biden is a communist, a socialist, a Marxist, and yada, yada, yada. Biden is at best, a centrist, at worst, a center-right Democrat. You're going to have to accept that your definitions are just wrong. And you're not going to be taken seriously if you say shit like that. And don't fucking lie about his positions either. We don't like him either. But those executive orders they did, all of them are just 100% good and they're not debatable. And you need to accept that. Only go after him on things when he does that are actually bad, like what we said about Iran and Venezuela. That's the first thing I would say. Anything else you two want to add about conservatives?
And stop saying that Biden's anywhere controlled by Bernie.
Oh yeah,
That is literally impossible.
Yeah, that's another thing too. Stop saying, because that's another thing too I've heard common. But yeah, some people would admit that Biden's not like a communist or anything, but he's in control of actual communists that will use him as a puppet to do anything. We fucking wish. We fucking wish we had that kind of control. I would. Yeah. If only Biden was at least 10% of the things that you accuse him of, because then maybe we would like him and vote for him and all that. But no, he's not, because we live in reality and you conservatives do not. Oh my fucking god. Harry, anything to say about this?
Yeah, I just want to say that when conservatives talk about Biden's quote-unquote radical agenda, they're just fucking idiots, because at best his policies are moderate Republican policies. And to the extent that he says he supports some progressive policies, that would be good. But you can't really trust him on that, because he appointed many corporate corporate people from
are liars
in his cabinet. I'm sorry,
because they're liars.
Oh yeah, because he appointed people from corporate. So you can't really say he's a radical socialist or whatever the fuck, because at best his policies are moderate Republican, that's a fact. So you guys are just fucking liars.
And fucking stupid too. It's both. Liars and stupid. Maybe you should stop.
Double standards and hypocrisy and projection that have no standards and nothing.
Maybe you should stop being conservatives because you're fucking stupid. All right, and now for the next one, and that's liberals. For the love of God, do not. And I've seen this too with Obama, and I remember the same shit with Hillary in 2016, because a lot of the same people are doing the same thing with Biden in 2020. Do not lie about him to make him better. I remember people in Vosh's comment, like I said earlier, people were like, oh, we were decking out with Ryan for Biden, we were ignoring or lying about all his bad things, only focusing on the good because we have to stop fascism no matter what. That's what we call lying. Don't fucking lie about someone because you think the other side's worse. You have to be objective or you can't be taken seriously. Don't fucking lie about him when he does things bad. When he does something bad, you have to point out and criticize him for it no matter what. And then, of course, like other things too, yes, he's brain dead. Don't fucking try to make excuses or deny it. He is, and he's also racist and all the other problems we have with him. They're all real. Stop denying it. Accept it. And don't fucking act like he's the savior. Oh my god, I've seen so many wine and dine liberals, like my mother too. Oh, Biden's the savior. Where Trump's gone now we cannot have to worry about this shit ever again. No. If anything, Biden is going to make it more likely for a worse Trump to show up. You don't want that, do you? I hope you don't want that, because we most certainly do. That's why I keep saying he's not good. For God's sake. Anything you two need to say about this?
When it comes to this, fascism is still bubbling at the surface. And so, bubbling just below the surface. And so you're not going to be able to easily counter it. You need other sources to counteract that fight. And you've also got to... Again, you got to point out when he does wrong, but give him credit when he does well.
Like we did.
Yeah.
All that sort of things. He's got a lot of issues on his end he's got to do. But we've also got a lot of... you've got to criticize him the right way. And you've also got to criticize them in a way that doesn't allow the right to make their shitty...
arguments.
Yeah.
And to you liberals, your arguments are just not good. They're dog shit. And you're going to help the right. Our arguments, on your hand, will be effective at crushing both of you. You need to let us do all the work. You need to just shut the fuck up. You're going to harm us more. And then, Harry, you anything to say?
No, yeah, I just want to say, fuck the corporate media for fawning over Biden, because they're obviously liars. And to our progressive friends who even voted for Bernie, if they did, I just want to say that never say Biden's better than he actually is, because you're wrong and you're enabling someone who's more of a competent fascist than Trump to actually like rise up and maybe defeat him in an election in 2024 or 2028, and that obviously give him credit when he does something good, and obviously criticize him when he does something bad, and never turn the blind eye on all the shit he does, because like obviously you just enable the establishment and the shitty corporate system we live under. So yeah.
And yeah, and you know who else? There's one thing, if you don't want fashion to come around, there's one thing that could stop that. A progressive. Like Bernie, which, oh yeah, you guys are so scared of him for wanting to make America and the world better. Fucking retard.
Yeah.
So, next topic?
The next one would be...
Hey, maybe about working with right-wingers, since it's the same thing almost?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. This is something Vorsh is against in 100% of cases.
What the fuck?
Well, he says he's for it, but he says only work on solutions you agree with, not if you agree on the problems. But yeah, here's the thing, guys, too, because this is more applies to liberals who think, oh, like all Trumpsters are all a bunch of racist bigots and we don't need them. Fuck them. They can go drop it for all we care. You're going to need some percentage of them in order to win elections. Now, people like Bernie and the Attorney, guess what? They can appeal to them. They actually can get that some percentage is needed in order to win elections. But all the rest of you, no. I actually even looked up polls recently on the 2020 U.S. election on Wikipedia. I actually looked up the polls of Trump against other Democrats. Bernie did the best. Biden was second, but everyone else, Trump was winning by like big margins. It wasn't even close.
Wow.
That's how bad you guys are at making arguments. And of course, most of those people were the same people that dismissed them all as bigots and all that, and not actually focus on their concerns. People like Bernie and us progressives, we do focus on them. That's why we're more successful at appealing to them. And when they support policies that we support, you gotta be able to work with them, not shut them out. Have them work with you on your terms. And don't do like the compromise bullshit that the Democrats in power do. Let's compromise to the Republicans then. No, you force them on our terms. That's what you do. Oh my god, anything you two want to say? and another thing too, I might add, I forgot. Don't do guilt by association either. I'm sick and tired of that crap too. Just because a right-winger might agree with us on something like legalizing weed or Medicare for all, which the polls show that doesn't mean we support them on every single fucking thing, like all the idiots did with Crystal when she praised Tucker Carlson one time, remember? Even though she called him a fucking xenophobe and all that.
Oh yeah, so yeah, obviously Vosh he's wrong when he says we should never work with the right. Because obviously, basically my view on this is take yes for a fucking answer. Meaning, if you agree with someone on the right on any topic, you always work with them, because that's how politics works. Because if you don't, then obviously you're never gonna get anything done, like in Congress or like or at the local level. So and obviously just because you go, and also when it comes to guilt by association, that doesn't mean just because you go on a conservative show, that doesn't mean you agree with everything they say.
Oh yeah, that's another thing too with like Fox lately, like what they did to Bernie too a lot last year. Remember?
Oh yeah, because I mean, just because Bernie went on Fox to promote Medicare for all, like that doesn't mean that he agrees with Fox News on everything. He only went there because he wanted like their audience to know about Medicare for all, and that's a good thing. Like going on in the quote unquote lines then to promote progressive ideas is a good thing, because like more people who don't necessarily follow you, they learn about policies that will help them. And obviously Vosh is a fucking idiot for not wanting to go on Fox News or working with the right on shit we agree on. And yeah, basically never cave to the right. Always work with them on your terms, basically. Yeah.
And then another thing I wanted to add too. Oh, Vlog, you want to talk now? Because we hear you.
Yeah, I had to BRB quickly. I'm back now. Okay, so we're still on.
Did you hear what
the Bible?
No, we were talking about how to deal with right wingers.
Ah, right.
So I guess you didn't hear. I guess you didn't hear anything I said or anything like that.
No, not really. I'll just give my 2 cents quickly. I think that if it's something you guys you two can agree on with a solution or agree on something, then work together on it. You want to get out of Yemen? Go ahead. You want to get out of wars in the Middle East? Do it.
Or legalize weed, or support Medicare for all.
Or end NSA spying.
Yeah. And then we were talking about, like, don't do no guilt by association, like Vosh did with Crystal Ball and other idiots do, and then the Kyle and everyone too.
Yep.
And then another. Shit, it was involving Vosh and Crystal again. What we wanted to say, Vlog? Why think of it again?
I don't know.
Oh yeah, I remember. Another thing too is, do you know Vosh says like Crystal Ball is like just a. He calls her a not fascist sympathizer and an enabler of the alt-right, and leads a pipeline to liberals to become right-wingers, and never ever acknowledges that it's the other way too. Like another thing about these people.
Same with Dusty. When he briefly went after Shu at various points, and Skeptic because of their association with Lawrence Southern, even though yes, Lawrence Southern is an evil cretin whose rhetoric has led to the murders of over 100 people in terrorist attack.
Like, just because you work with right-wingers on something does not mean you agree with them, and nor does it lead to a pipeline to the right. It can also be the other way around. People on the right, like with Kyle and Crystal, they can be right-wingers, and then become liberals. That works both ways. And people like Vosh, when it comes to like Crystal and other people, they need to recognize that, and they just fucking don't.
Yeah. And there are also certain people on the right who actually act as a stopper for certain people. Yeah. For some people. And there are some who have actually been stopped from going any further right by certain people. Like I know, Hi, I Think I'm Real. I don't know if you've heard of him.
I have, remember.
Actually said in the comments that some actually stopped some of them from going to full-blown fascism.
All right, so I guess we beat this topic to deck. What do you want to talk about next?
Next on the list would be.
How about the social media one?
Oh, social media, yes, social media.
Oh yeah. So, anyways, after Trump incited to the storming of the Capitol a few weeks ago, he got suspended like on all the social media and all that crap, and a whole bunch of other dipshit right wingers did too. Now, of course. What were you saying, Harry?
So effectively, like Kyle Kulinski says, he got the internet death penalty.
So as I was trying to say, I'm sure all of us here are like free speech absolutists, pretty much, right?
Yep.
I'm a free speech absolutist too, and I'm usually the person that would very rarely side with like people like getting banned or kicked off of Twitter and all that. This one though, I think is deserved because not only has he did encourage and incite the riots at the Capitol, but he's advocated for violence numerous other times beforehand too. And that's one of the things you can't do under my free speech absolutism. Advocate or incite violence too. So yeah, almost all the other times I wouldn't support, this time it's merited. And what about you two?
Yeah, I mean, Trump did have incite his rioters to commit sedition. He's incited violence several times, many times, and yeah, I'd agree on that count. Even with the thing to regulate the social medias as a public utility, Trump would still have been in breach of that.
Harry, what you got to say?
No, I just want to say, obviously, I'm also a free speech absolutist, but if you think about it, Trump getting banned was, it's kind of controversial because, like, on the one hand, my progressive side says, yeah, ban him because he incited fascist violence, but on the other hand, that's really dangerous because, like, I mean, Tim, to your point, do you really want to give all that power to like unelected corporate like America? If you think about,
that's why we regulate social media.
Exactly. That's the next topic that we got to talk about. And Vosh actually said this is a neutral fig too. Yeah, it might be good that Trump's got banned, but we also have to be concerned about big tech being in control because guess what, guys? Liberals and progressives too also get censored and kicked off of Twitter all the time for shit that honestly does not even violate TOS nowhere near the right. Hell, remember I got suspended for a week on Twitter for mocking a right winger years ago. Think about that.
No, yeah, Tim, exactly. That's my point. Like,
and then of course, remember when I got suspended on YouTube for a week because I was considered. It was considered hate speech to criticize PragerU's defense of Israel. Remember that?
Yes. It is anti-Semitic to oppose Israel genociding the Palestinians.
So that's another thing too. There needs to be some sort of like objective way to verify all this crap instead of just ban outright. That's another thing that needs to happen too. And a lot of them, a lot of their TOS and all that crap are just straight up inconsistent and ridiculous. Yeah, that's another thing too.
Yeah, but basically the only solution is not only to pass a law that makes social media companies public utilities, but also you need to set up a process in a court of law where this shit is determined. Because like what you said is kind of dangerous because like you can't really give all that power to corporate America because like they're gonna ban the left as well, not just the fascists.
Why never advocate giving them power?
No, I mean but like you said, Trump getting banned was a good thing. So you effectively give all that power
because he violated my terms of free speech. But then, of course, there are other times where conservatives, and of course, me too, said things that were nowhere near TOS violations whatsoever, yet we still got suspended. And that's gotta go.
Well, yeah, that's gotta go, but in the meantime, like, it's kind of, I don't know, it's just kind of risky to advocate. Yeah. Not advocate, I mean, it's kind of risky.
Exactly,
like,
it is.
Really, no, yeah, but like, I don't know, I'm kind of, I don't know, honestly, I'm kind of against Trump getting banned because it was done by unaccountable, unelected, like, corporate America. So if you give them that power, then they just can ban anyone. Like, I don't, like,
yeah,
that's.
And of course, especially since the argument is, hey, Trump said a lot of worse stuff too beforehand for several years, yet he didn't get banned. Like, why now? That was another argument too people brought up.
Oh yeah, actually, there's another argument. I actually heard Glenn Greenwald say that what Trump did actually was not incitement of violence because he didn't actually say go attack Congress. He only said this was a fraudulent election, which is protected political speech. Yeah, so honestly, Tim, you can't really. I don't know. I feel like it's a little contradictory for someone who's a free speech absolutist like you to support Trump getting banned because I don't know. It just feels kind of.
Well, Kyle actually talked about that too. Trump talked out both sides of his mouth. Yeah, he didn't say it, but he said stuff in a way that his supporters could interpret him to do that.
Yeah, exactly. But like any political speech that's said, though, it can be interpreted as I got to do violence now. But incitement should only mean direct violence, not like indirect. If you know what I'm saying. So, I mean, like that's like it's dangerous. I don't know. It's just dangerous to like give corporate America the power.
Well, of course it is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Don't want to give them power. So anything else you two want to say on this topic?
Not particularly.
So what do you want to talk about next? Oh!
Democrats in Georgia. That'd be... No, Bernie Senate Budget Committee chairman.
I think that's what we were mentioning before. So Bernie is now the budget chairman, which is awesome! So now he can actually help pass the budget, at least on the Senate side, I believe it was. And we know he'll definitely make a budget that will definitely help us. And of course, watch everyone else try and block him, but hopefully they will fail massively in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still curious, how did he get it? Because I was under the impression that it was... They had to be picked and then had to be voted on, and I can't find out any way of how he got it. I even looked up on Wikipedia and all of them to say how he exactly got it, and nowhere says how. So, Harry, do you maybe know?
Tim, and Vlog, I think the way committee chairmanships work is that, like, within the party caucus, they decide within each other who's going to be chairman of what. And I think... because Bernie was so nice to Biden, believe it or not, during the primary, I think he was like, you know what? Like, fuck it, just make Bernie. I think Biden told Democrats to make Bernie chairman of the Senate Budget Committee. That's why he got that chairmanship, I think, if that makes sense. That's how he got it.
Yeah.
Well, I think that I find that hard to believe, but hey, it's a good thing he is. So hopefully,
Yeah.
No, I mean, if you think about it, it makes sense because during the primary, Bernie was unfortunately he was way too nice to Biden, so he was like, you know what, fuck it, let me just tell Democrats in the Senate to, I don't know, make him chairman since he supported me and endorsed me at the end. So he was like, I don't know, fuck it, you know. So
well,
I mean, do you think? I mean, if you think about it, it makes sense though. Like, since he was very hostile.
that doesn't make much sense to me because that's a pretty damn powerful position to give him, and you know he's going to give them absolute hell when it comes to making budgets. But I don't really care either way. I'm glad he is. Hopefully he gives them hell and makes actual good budget.
Yeah.
I agree on that count. Woohoo!
And hopefully, of course...
Okay.
What were you saying?
Oh, you finish.
No, you go.
Oh, okay. I was going to say that we were going to talk about the Democrats winning both states in Georgia.
Yeah, that was quite a surprise.
Right?
Yeah.
And honestly, you know what? You actually might have to thank Trump for that too, because remember he and all the idiots kept saying that the election was fraudulent. Your votes are not going to be counted and all that crap. So it actually depressed the turnout of Republicans.
Yeah, but no, I would also add that the fact that both Ossoff and Warnock, they actually actively said on the campaign trail that if you vote for us, we're going to support $2,000 checks. So
yep, and that was another thing too.
That also helped, yeah, massively. Like I would argue.
And now they're backpedaling on that, as Kyle covered now. If you don't remember that,
because Joe Manchin hates poor people and wants them to suffer and die.
If they were pretty close elections, weren't they? Weren't Ossoff's close?
No, they were.
No, yeah, they were razor thin margins. Yeah, they were raising. I guess you could say Georgia sort of became a swing state now. I don't know.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was quite a surprise that they got. I actually didn't even get a thought on. Vlog said last time that he thought one of them maybe.
Yeah, I was thinking Warnock was going to get it, but I didn't think Ossoff would.
Vlogs
51-49. But yeah, I guess I'm happily wrong.
I know you have Vlog. I actually felt the same as you, but at the end, because they supported the Czechs and Trump, you know, he didn't give a shit anymore, so that's why they won. If you think about it. Also, because people.
You got to wonder though. Can you imagine? Because that election was the day before the storming of the Capitol. Can you imagine how much big of a turnout that would be if that happened beforehand?
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing too. The storming of the Capitol. I think I mentioned it. I don't think I actually mentioned it in the last episode. We need to use that forever for like not propaganda, like ads and all in to show how bad the Republicans are. And we got to remember for like the next 10+ years. You want that to happen? Don't let that happen. We won't let that happen if you vote for Democrats.
It's a good idea. Yeah, it's a good idea.
They do it. Yeah. Hey, the right does it for. The right does it for. The right does that for BLM, Muslims, and all them. Let's do it right back at them, and we're actually accurate too.
Yeah.
So what else do you want? What was it? Wait, I think we already talked about that. Anything else you want to talk about? We've almost talked about all the topics.
Future of American politics, I think, is the last one we wanted to talk about.
Maybe we can add another one after this. So what do you want to say?
Wait, me or Vlog? Who
either one of you.
Awkward, I'm not quite sure.
Wait, Vlog, do you want me to start or I guess?
I guess you could if you wanted.
No, so basically what I mean by the future of American politics is honestly I'm gonna make a prediction in the future to show whether I was right or wrong. I think if Democrats pass $2,000 checks, they're gonna keep the House and Senate. But if they don't, they're gonna lose the House, and Republicans are gonna have that. But I feel like they're gonna win the Senate even more because like the map is more favorable towards them. So you could potentially see in 2022 Democrats having the Senate and Republicans the House, assuming they don't pass like the $2,000 checks. And in 2024, I'm sorry.
Oh God! If the Republicans get the House, they will. Every single day they will try to impeach Biden.
Yeah.
Every single day.
Oh yeah, like which is why that's another reason for
Hey,
Biden.
remember,
Already
there's
trying to do that QAnon congresswoman's already trying to do a
that crazy
one.
cunt is doing one right now. Remember?
Wow.
Day one, it was so funny.
Yeah.
So as you were saying, Harry.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like even Vlog said it. If Republicans take back the House in 2022, that's actually a reason for Biden to push $2,000 checks, because like if he passes those, they're going to keep the House. If he doesn't, then he's going to lose the House, and the Republicans are going to like try to impeach him daily. So it doesn't really benefit him if you think about it. So he should be pushing for like those $2,000 in checks, you know. So and also. I was gonna ask you, do you guys think it's gonna run for election or probably sit down?
I have no idea. I've seen conflicting reports on that.
Okay, because I was gonna say honestly, if honestly, I also want to say that if Biden doesn't run in 2024, it'd be awesome if Nina Turner ran. Like because
Yep.
in my opinion, she's.
The question would be, is it just going to be Nina, or might AOC run, because she's going to be just old enough?
Yep, and of course, I would always add too, Bernie, please run.
Oh yeah, Bernie probably give it.
I doubt he will actually, but I hope.
It's I think it's still, chances are still good, but I think they're a bit down on 2020.
So what you're saying, Harry?
Oh yeah, actually, if Bernie's still alive by 2024, and if he's still in good health and not, you know, like and not too exhausted from his age, I guess it'd be awesome if he ran. But if not, that's understandable. And obviously, in my opinion, Nina Turner, she's literally the best person to carry on Bernie's progressive torch, because like she's the most passionate. She doesn't care what the media thinks about her, and she's actually better than AOC and the other Justice Democrats, because she actually doesn't give a shit about the corporate media and what they think about her, unlike them.
And also, she's not as hated like AOC and the Squad are too. Remember, in the places that they need votes.
Regularly on the right, that people regularly call for at least Ilhan Omar, but probably seeing them too, to be murdered. Yeah. And that they're all enabled by the alt-right enabling corporate Democrats.
Yep, and they just don't hate Nina Turner as much as they do. So as you were wanting to keep saying, Harry?
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, but if she gets elected though. Oh yeah, by the way, I watched the newest Crystal Kyle episode, and Nina Turner said that her election is in May. So in May we're gonna find out whether she's gonna get elected to Congress or not, because that's when the.
Hopefully she will. Don't fail us, Ohio, please. Please vote for her. She's awesome.
Yep, Nina is awesome.
Oh yeah, and Tim, obviously she's the perfect case for why Ohio is still winnable, because like, you know, it's her home state and she's from Cleveland, so she can obviously for the future she can campaign in Ohio and win it back for the Democrats, because it's not far gone. So
I didn't say she wasn't gonna win.
No, I mean in the future she can help Democrats.
Of course.
Win Ohio, because like she's her home state and she can campaign there. So yeah, awesome. If we could win it back, because obviously neoliberalism has proven
to be a failure.
To be a failure and to lose Ohio twice in a row. So
by 8 points each.
Yeah, Ohio is important. Like it's still winnable. So that's why we should.
Pretty much all the Great Lakes can be won if you run a progressive.
Oh yeah, no shit. Like
Bernie would have won at least Ohio. And maybe Florida too.
I posted my electoral college map if I thought Bernie won last time. Remember, he had I had him picked they win 400 electoral.
Oh wow,
that's how confident I was.
Bernie definitely he would have won Iowa, Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, Iowa. Definitely he would have, states that Trump won some of them.
So that's it for your predictions.
I think so, yeah.
What about you, Vlog?
It's a little hard to say with on the Republican side, because the question is which, because Trump might. Oh, yeah. Did you hear that?
Trump might start his own political party.
Oh yeah, he said that. Yeah.
that might just be enough might scare enough Republicans to be like, right, impeach him, get rid of him, get him out of his
and watch, even if he was impeached, he and his supporters will still find a way. Nope, I'm still gonna run no matter what. I don't give a shit what you say.
Wait, but Tim, that's
he's gonna try and run for the presidency from jail.
Yep,
from jail.
he will still try no matter what. Never underestimate a narcissist.
No, yeah, but Timbo, it would obviously be illegal for him to run if he was impeached. So
You think conservatives care about that?
No, I know they don't give a shit, but
they're gonna
still,
try
like,
no matter what. They don't care. Brute force, remember?
Wait, so you're talking about an actual fascist coup then? I mean, like it's
they
not,
will
it's not
try
legal.
something. You know that. You saw what they did back on the 6th. So I would say never underestimate Trump until he is dead.
Yep, and even then, there's a couple that, even then there may be one or two with, and then there may be tries even after he's dead.
Yep. So what were you saying, Vlog, about your predictions?
Yeah, I don't know if who's gonna go for it in 2024. There's a few names that have been thrown around that I'm like, I don't see them running. Like Tucker Carlson, I don't think Carlson would leave his cushy job at Fox News to run a presidential campaign.
No, yeah,
Also,
but it'd be interesting.
Constantly perplexed look.
Yeah, that is always funny, that look he does when he talks to progressives.
But he talks to just about anybody.
That's fucking so funny.
And it's like, he's got resting perplexed face, and it's like, yeah, that's not going to go over well with people.
Any other predictions?
Corporate Democrats are going to stay as corporate. Hopefully the Democratic Civil War, we might be able to depose Nancy in a few years.
Now that you mentioned Nancy, I've heard reports somewhere that this might be it. Like, she's not going to run possibly in 2022, so hopefully that'll be the case.
Ooh.
That would be a huge win for us, because she is a massive drain on the Democrats. A massive drain. She's so hated she takes us down.
Yeah.
So as you were saying, Vlog.
Yeah. So that's going to be very interesting to see. Because that's the thing. And on back to the Republican half, they don't actually disagree much on policy, just on how it's done.
Yep.
And so, but that's good. The Republican Civil War is gonna be glorious. Who would have thought that at the same time, both the Democrats and the Republicans would be in a civil war for their party?
Yeah. Kyle covered that a few years ago, remember?
That's awesome, man.
Yep. So that's it for your predictions?
I think so, yeah.
Well, for me, well, of course, I'm probably gonna largely, unless like something dramatically changes, like if Trump actually does run a political party, I'm still gonna probably stay by what I originally said before. Biden's gonna be shit. The Republicans will probably win some of the Congress back in 2022, and then of course whether or not he runs or not is unknown. But regardless, if a progressive doesn't win, and if the Republicans don't get split by Trump, I think they'll win in 2024. But of course, if he does make the party split, then they'll win probably no matter what.
Yeah.
So who knows? Gotta wait and see what we gotta wait to see what the fascist orangutan does. If he doesn't drop dead before then.
Or if he does drop dead, who they're gonna run to? Who the Trump tards are gonna run to?
They'll probably dig up his fat skeleton to run for instead. So we went for all the topics, but you know what? I think we went from so quickly, maybe we can add one more for the episode.
Have to be a fairly quick one.
So what would you want maybe talk about for one final thing? Vlog. I'm Harry. You got ideas? Since you posted a whole bunch of them, remember?
How about? Wait, let me see.
Maybe watch a video. Hey, what about the minimum wage video?
Wait. So you want to watch the minimum wage video?
Yeah. How about that?
Yeah, sure. Let's do that.
Oh,
It's from the same guy who did the
Yeah,
the
the police one. Hang on.
yeah, police one. Yeah.
This episode and others
Able
like
to
it
hear?
are made possible by the generous support of
Yeah.
my patrons on Patreon.
Quiet,
If
though.
you'd like to help me make more content like this and get early access to every new video, consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/secondthought. Every few years, and pretty much constantly over the last half-decade or so, the U.S. enters a cataclysmic debate over the federal minimum wage. Some people think raising the wage would destroy businesses and raise prices for goods and services.
And they're
Others
incorrect.
think it's essential to keep up with inflation and rising housing prices. Both sides firmly believe that their position is the one supported by hard data and evidence.
Except
But
one
there are
side
certain
isn't.
realities surrounding this debate that are never addressed. So in this episode, I'm going to address them. Hopefully by the end of this video, you'll be more informed on the minimum wage debate, but more than that, you'll have a new understanding of why it's such a divisive issue in the first place. Let's start with some basic history. Once upon a time, there were no regulations regarding how much bosses had to pay their workers. This was back in the early 1900s, and because of this wild west of a labor market, those who owned the factories could pay their workers as little as they wanted. And if those workers didn't like it, they could quit, and other starving Americans would gladly take their place. This worked out wonderfully for the owner class. They knew that a desperate working population would have little choice but to accept the tiny wages they offered, because the alternative was abject poverty and starvation. Over the years, labor laws were established to help prevent this predatory behavior, and in 1938, the Fair Labor Standards Act established the country's first minimum wage, a system that had already been implemented in other developed nations. This legislation also banned the use of exploitative child labor, which had been an incredibly lucrative practice for early 20th century business owners. The owner class was not happy about this, but millions of parents across the country were relieved that they would receive better wages and that their children would no longer be torn to pieces by the massive, dangerous machines the business owners forced them to crawl into to fix. Almost 30 years later, in 1966, an amendment to the Fair Labor Standards Act raised the federal minimum wage to $1.60 per hour, and extended coverage to federal employees and some farm workers for the first time. This particular amendment is a critical bit of historical evidence, because, as we'll see later, a recent study made some important findings regarding the minimum wage and employment. Now, let's take a look at how the minimum wage has changed over time. 6 decades ago, in 1960, the minimum wage was $1 per hour. Over the following 60 years, the wage steadily rose, today sitting at $7.25. Taken by itself, this graph looks pretty good. The line goes up. Here's the problem. Just listing dollar amounts without historical context does not give an accurate depiction of what those amounts mean. Let's look at the same line adjusted for inflation.
Yeah,
That's
see,
the
it
line
goes
that's
it
impressive.
goes down,
Yeah.
I mean,
These
up to
peaks and
down.
troughs represent each time the minimum wage has been raised, and inflation wiping out those gains.
Yeah.
Taken as a whole, we can see that compensation for minimum wage workers is actually significantly lower today than it was 60 years ago.
Yeah, that's the thing, guys. Back
Yeah.
then, money was more valuable. Like, for example, back then, like, remember, like, the golden era of American economic expansion, like that stereotype in the 50s? Do you know how much...
Yeah.
Do you know how much money the average, like, back in the 50s was Americans would make? Like, about $20,000. Now, you're probably thinking, $20,000? That's nothing nowadays. Exactly. But back then, $20,000 was equivalent to almost $100,000.
Wow.
See,
Oh,
think
wait,
about-
Tim,
even-
basically the minimum wage was worth more in 1968 than it is today.
Yeah, exactly.
Is what it is.
Things got more expensive, so money's worth a lot less than it is. So yeah, minimum wage went up since the 60s, but as you see from this graph, in terms of actual value and inflation, it's gone down in value. So we're making less for more productivity overall.
Yeah.
That's why the
Yeah.
wage needs to go up and be tied to
This
inflation.
peak here, representing the 1966 amendment to the Fair Labor Standards Act, marked the high point of the U.S. federal...
Oh, and see that graph too. Back when it was $1.25, equivalent to back then would be like $10 now.
Wow.
Yep.
Oh, hit the wrong button.
federal minimum wage. $1.60 an hour in 1966, adjusted for inflation, equates to almost $13 an hour.
See what I
today,
mean?
Nearly
Wow.
twice our current minimum wage. Okay, so we know that real compensation for workers is lower than it was in the past. But this is where we get to the crux of the matter. Many people don't care that it's lower because they believe that a minimum wage should not be a living wage. That you should not be able to
And they're
support yourself on this
retards.
wage because jobs that
Yeah.
pay that little
Oh,
are
shit.
tiny beginner jobs, or things to keep retirees occupied. Let's talk about that. Do students and other young people make up the bulk of minimum wage
Nope.
workers? Yes. Are they typically
The
able
average
to
age is
rely on their parents
29.
for housing? Yes. Does this mean that they don't need more money in order to simply survive? In many cases, yes. Does that mean we should allow their compensation to slip so far behind the rate of inflation that their pay has next to no value? No. Justifying poverty wages simply because many minimum wage workers are students is not a valid reason to keep paying so little. And the minimum wage is a poverty wage. According to several studies, there's not a single county in the entire nation where a minimum wage earner could afford a one-bedroom apartment. If the minimum wage had simply kept up with inflation and productivity gains since 1968, it would be over $24 per hour today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, see that, guys? If minimum wage kept up with inflation, we wouldn't be making $7.25 right now. It would be over $20. Think about that. Think about all that to all you idiots that say minimum wage is bad. Think about that. Remember, remember what Mayumi pointed out months ago on our my server?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, actually, like her city, Seattle, raised their minimum wage to $15 an hour. So they did that, so which is good. Yeah.
Surplus labor value that's been taken from workers and given to their bosses. Unsurprisingly, the owner class is almost uniformly opposed to raising the minimum wage at all.
Because they're greedy bastards.
What's more disappointing is seeing people who make $16 per hour fighting with people who make $7.25 an hour when their bosses make thousands of dollars per hour. There's a certain mindset in America where people believe if I just scrimp and save enough, if I work enough overtime, if I do what I'm told, if I just work hard enough, one day I'll be the one making thousands of dollars per hour. Of course, the owner class is thrilled by this. When the working class is divided, those who make twice the minimum wage fighting against lower wage workers...
That's why race doesn't matter. It's all about class. Like, what the fuck? It should race or matter? Like,
remember, people making $16 an hour are still making less than what the minimum wage...
What were you saying?
I'm sorry, Vlog? Sorry?
What were you even saying?
No, I didn't hear Vlog. I
was talking about how the race one is only a fixture, is only a component of class.
Vlog, no, yeah, it is, but like this video proves race shouldn't matter. It should be about class. Like that's why there's so many people unify against like the fucking rich or like take back the country. Like that's like they shouldn't care about race. It should be about like class, like economic class. You know, like like it shouldn't matter. Like race, that is.
Bosch would have a meltdown with you saying that, though, remember?
Because he's a fucking idiot. He's okay with rich people exploiting anyone as long as, like...
hey, he did support, outsourcing jobs overseas, remember? So no shit. Well,
yeah, he's a fucking idiot who supports, like, the owner classics, like, outsourcing jobs, like... free trade, like, fuck that.
He's a market socialist.
Kept up with inflation and productivity.
Wow.
But let's set this aside for now, and address some of the common objections to raising the minimum wage. We'll begin with the objection that raising the minimum wage will increase housing prices. I would start by asking those people, when was the last time you rented an apartment? I imagine it was quite a while ago. It's understandable, then, that these people are a little out of touch with the realities of housing prices in the rental market. The federal minimum wage has not been raised since 2009. Between 2010 and 2020, the average apartment rental price has increased by 40%, and by much more than that in some areas. Let me repeat that. The price for housing has increased by 40%, while the minimum wage has increased by 0%. So, to the people saying raising the minimum wage will increase housing prices, that has already been happening without raising the pay to a living wage. The minimum wage has nothing to do with rising prices in housing, or in any other area. When people say your Big Mac will cost $30 if the wage goes up, they're clearly not familiar with McDonald's pay.
It's obviously fucking stupid.
If you work at a McDonald's in Denmark, your starting pay is $22 per hour.
Scandinavia
you also get 6 weeks of paid vacation, life insurance, a year of paid maternity leave, and a pension plan.
Doesn't it all sound lovely?
27 cents more than in America. 27 cents is apparently the difference between respecting your work.
Oh, and for all of you who didn't hear, because we were all talking, in Denmark, for example, they're paid $22 an hour, and they have all these benefits. And guess how much Big Macs and all them in McDonald's cost over there? Just 27 more cents than they do in America. Wow. So all that pay, all those benefits for just a 27-cent increase.
Wow.
Oh my God, such a big deal, guys. That's what, that's what we keep pointing out to people. Yeah, prices will go up, but it's so insignificant you won't be affected by it, and there's such massive benefits for it. Jesus.
Yeah.
God.
And considering them stupid, morally deficient, low-skill workers. The argument that raising the minimum wage will increase prices on housing and goods has no basis in reality. Let's move on to probably the most common example. Raising the minimum wage will drive companies out of business. On the surface, this is a valid concern. Many small businesses do operate on razor-thin margins, and an increase in employee compensation could in theory make their business untenable. Let's return to that study I mentioned earlier. In September of 2020, a new report was published that examined the effects of the minimum wage increase as part of the 1966 Fair Labor Standards Act amendment. Their findings? Earnings rose sharply in all affected industries, the racial wealth gap was significantly diminished, and, most importantly for this discussion, there was no adverse effect on employment. Businesses could afford to pay their workers more, they just didn't want to. It's no stretch of the imagination to assume that the same is true today, especially when tax breaks for businesses and the wealthy have increased dramatically since the 80s, coincidentally, the period since which worker compensation has stagnated. So, based on historical precedent, there's no reason to assume that increasing the minimum wage would drive companies out of business, especially when some of the largest employers of minimum wage workers are hugely profitable megacorporations like Walmart and McDonald's. But let's return to the hypothetical that's so often used on pro-business news outlets. The mom-and-pop family business that simply can't afford to pay their workers anymore. Here's the thing. If you cannot afford to pay your workers a living wage, you should not be in business. This is how the free market is supposed to work, remember? Your business is at the mercy of the market. If you don't make enough money to cover your expenses, by free market logic, you should not be in business. Paying your workers is the most basic expense of all. Again, the minimum wage should be over $24 per hour. If you can't pay your workers a third of that rate, that means the only reason you're in business is because you're exploiting people by paying them poverty wages. This is the entire basis for the existence of the gig economy. We're so accustomed to devaluing workers that companies like Uber no longer even classify their workers as employees, so they can get away with paying them nothing at all. But let's give small business owners the benefit of the doubt here. I'm going to assume that you genuinely want to run an ethical business that pays its workers fairly. I can understand how it would be a challenge to raise your workers' pay from whatever you're paying them now to $15 per hour all in one chunk. Wouldn't it make more sense if instead of having to raise the minimum wage by large amounts every decade or so, we chose to raise the wage every year based on inflation and other metrics?
Yeah, that's what I support.
This would make the change more gradual and manageable, the workers would be paid fairly, and it wouldn't put undue stress on you, the business owner. Other countries already do.
Just like in Maryland, for example, we have $15 minimum wage, but it's not going to go into effect until 2025, and it's going up $1 each year.
Oh, wow.
Like, business can afford $1 increase over time. It ain't that hard to do.
This. Instead of leaving the minimum wage in the hands of politicians, in countries like France and Australia, economic commissions reevaluate their minimum wage every year, raising
that's
it
a
to
good
match
idea.
critical economic signifiers. It's no coincidence that countries that take this common sense approach
in Australian dollars at about $20 an hour.
Yeah, so instead of having the minimum wage debate over and over again, just have it automatically set to inflation. That way it just raises or falls yearly, and it's already accounted for.
Yeah, $19.84 per hour.
Yep.
Which also have a higher minimum wage relative to the average worker's salary. Unsurprisingly, the US ranks dead last by this metric. Okay, so let's assume you're on board with the idea that workers should at least be paid a living wage. That inevitably leads us to the next objection. If the minimum wage goes up, they might make more money than other low-paid workers, like teachers. I'm going to ask you to think about that statement for a moment. If minimum wage workers earn more money, say $15 per hour, still less than what the minimum wage should be, they might make more money than teachers. I would suggest that there's an easy solution here. It's not to demand that the minimum wage stays the same, it's to demand that all low-paid workers get a raise. This goes back to the strange American delusion that one day you'll be rich. No. If you're a teacher, a janitor, if you work a trade, if you're in retail, if you sell hours of your life for a wage, you're in the same boat as minimum wage earners. You both deserve to be paid more. In 2020, the federal government spent over $720 billion on the military. And that was just the base budget. When you account for other aspects of the so-called defense budget, you get numbers that are alarmingly close to $1 trillion. $1 trillion in a single year. More money than the next 10 nations combined spend on their militaries. There's not a country on Earth that could even come close to threatening the US. And yet we spend all this money on submarines and aircraft carriers and billions of tons of bombs. We have the money to fully fund our schools, invest in new public projects, and improve the lives of all Americans. Our priorities are just out of alignment with what the country actually needs.
Yep.
Walmart made
Yep.
over $129 billion in profit last year. Supermarket chains saw an increase of over 39% in their profits during the pandemic, while their workers,
Wow.
whom the companies labeled essential, saw little to no increase in pay, despite putting their lives on the line for their employers. Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, and a handful of their billionaire friends increased their net worth by $1 trillion over the same period. These people make more money in a
Wow.
single hour than the average person will earn in a
And
lifetime.
this should not
And
be
we're
allowed.
squabbling over giving our
Yeah,
lowest
it
paid
shouldn't.
workers an extra $7 an hour? There is a sickness in America that has been programmed into us over the last 4 decades.
Because of
Yeah.
conservatives and
To see
corporate media
earning a living
too.
as survival of the fittest, to rely only on ourselves and see others' hardship as evidence of some moral failing. This pull yourself up by your bootstraps mentality has seeped into our national consciousness and completely poisoned our outlook on labor. Like most discourse around money, the minimum wage debate boils down to the fact that Americans are so conditioned to be entirely individualistic that they feel personally attacked when someone else's income inches even a cent closer to their own. It's hard to overcome this mindset. The propaganda of suicidal self-reliance and hyper-individualism makes it incredibly difficult to watch other people succeed. Because deep down, whether we're consciously aware of it or not, watching our fellow workers succeed makes it feel like we have failed. At its core, the minimum wage debate isn't just about the minimum wage. It represents a sort of proxy for all class consciousness in America. There's no easy answer here. The process of deprogramming an entire population will be a massive undertaking. But the first step must be a renewed understanding of class struggle. If you are a worker, whether you're in retail, food service, transportation, whether you're young or old, from New York or Alabama, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, if you sell hours of your life for a wage, you are working class.
That's
The
why race
owner
shouldn't
class,
matter.
the people who own
Just
the massive
economic class.
corporations, the restaurants, the car dealerships, the people who pay your wage and make million-dollar donations to corrupt politicians, they have a vested interest in paying you as little as possible, because
Oh,
that
shit.
will maximize their profits. The struggle is not you versus your fellow workers, but all workers versus the obscenely wealthy owner class who refuse to allow America to
Yep.
become the country they claim it is. A country that works for all Americans, not just those at the very top. I mentioned at the beginning of this video that this kind of content is supported by my patrons on Patreon.
Yeah, that was a very good video. We all gotta say about that.
Yep.
Pretty much completely on that.
Yep. Unfortunately, I have to get going very soon, so hope you any last words you two have?
Wait, vlog, go ahead. Wait, vlog.
No, I agree with that. It shows that race reductionists, like Vorsh can be every now on occasion, are wrong.
Yeah, no shit, yeah, of course. And wait, Tim, wait, I just want to say that this video proves that race shouldn't matter at all, and it should only be about economic class. Because we all unite, whether you're a woman or a man or black or white or Asian or whatever, like, it doesn't matter, or gay or straight. If you unite against the rich people, you can easily fuck them over and actually bring change. Because right now they divided us up thanks to corporate media, and that's why race shouldn't matter, or what it should only matter like what your economic class is. Yeah.
My main thing is, if we focus more on class, because a lot of people when people hear me say that, they think I'm like ignoring like social issues and all that entirely. No, bring them up, but focus more on the economic issues. We have a better chance to win, and then we can implement all the reforms that are needed, economic and social. That's what I would say on it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Alright, so I have to get going, so hope y'all enjoy this episode. Hopefully we can do another episode soon in the future. See you guys next time.
See you next time.
Wait, Tim, you mean he had a meltdown over Jimmy going on Tugger's show, or you mean just working with the right in general? Like, what do you...
He has an irrational hatred of Dora, remember?
Mm-hmm.
Just like Kyle and Crystal.
Yep.
Yeah, he's just, I don't know, he's a fucking idiot for hating them. Like, they're literally the best